Now, you can't really see this that well. I'm actually at Fulton County, New York. NY0. Now, you will also see, just near the 210 heading, another NY0. I believe this is an issue with the database that X-Plane uses, but the bottom line is today I'm going to fly this really nice and really cool VR sweetheart, this Pilatus PC-6, to a backcountry stop. Basically, I first soloed a plane at this very airfield, this New York County, Fulton County in upstate New York. But you know, I'll head out using this GPS to Maben, NY0, the other NY0. Actually, Maben used to be NY00 and no longer kind of exists. So this is why there's this book. But what I'll do is I'll fly roughly out in that direction, see if I can find it, and, you know, kind of play with this really, really nice Pilatus in the meantime, and try not to get my VR in the way. Now, actually, there's a point. Let's see if I can shift the... I hate this thing. Kind of just a... Wish I could throw it out the window sometimes, but it just gets in the way. And again, probably be better if I could turn these kind of controllers off, but, well, they are kind of useful to me. I'll see if I can put them by the side and not accidentally press the buttons. Took them down my pants. Now, everyone's been raving about this Pilatus PC-6, saying it's the, you know, one of the best planes that's in X-Plane. Great VR experience. I will try not to move my head so fast. I mean, you're viewing this in 3D. The effect for me of moving my head fast is just like in real life, but for you, when you're viewing this in 2D, should I say, it's kind of crap. But again, we'll talk about this plane as we head off. I will say this: it is absolutely superb to just be sat in this cockpit and just to be looking around like this. Okay, so what is it with the PC-6? Well, it's a nice tailwheel aircraft. I think that I should be able to show you some different views of it for sure. Let's just change my keyboard over to the right one. Ooh! Yeah, it's noisy out there, but it is a nice looking aircraft. It's tail wheel, as you can see, tail dragger. Flies okay. I mean, I'm not a tail dragger trained pilot. I sometimes try and take a Messerschmitt BF 109, ME 109 off. They're known to be crazy, and they're hard. This I've found a lot easier. So, you know, let's try that. Even for a tricycle gear pilot like myself, this works fine. And it's probably something to do with a rudder authority, but this is why all these videos of people taking this aircraft off, there's less people doing ground loops and things like that. And look, I've got the tail up already, so plenty of rudder authority now anyway, and aircraft's off. It really is short takeoff and landing, this, completely. I remember the day my instructor flew me out to this field from Albany. Oh, is that an aircraft sat on the ground there? That's not part of the airport in real life, by the way. That's why I'm surprised about that. No, in Albany, New York, we flew out and, my instructor did the whole, I'm going to get out the aircraft thing now. And my thought was, this is it. Shit. And I did 3 touch and goes, and then I had, the congratulatory t-shirt cut up, which is actually supposed to cut the t-shirt off your back. It's like the sweat off your back. But for some reason, my instructor decided to cut it off the front. I think it was because he was trying to embarrass me and the girls. So in front of the girls at the FBO, which was kind of mean. Default scenery. I do have some West Coast scenery that's better. I do find this aircraft hits the frame rate a little bit, so I'm kind of a bit happier to fly it in this default scenery. But yeah, I've only had 3 or 4 goes in this aircraft so far. It's nice and fast. Now look, the prop's working now. Good. So let's pull the throttle back. Now let's pull the prop back. Big cruise. Now, yeah, Maben Airport. The weird thing, this has been off the radar for a long time, and even when I visited it, which was probably about 18 years ago, I think it was closed. When we landed there, my instructor was quite nostalgic about the place. He was... Hang on. I think I just dropped my... Excuse me, I think I just dropped one of the VR controllers. Oh, that's okay. I don't really need them at this point. No, my instructor was quite nostalgic about the place. He landed there from time to time when it was actually a busy backcountry airstrip, and I think what he was looking to do that day was revisit a place that was nostalgic for him. He also wanted to do a soft field landing with me on a gravel strip, but I don't think he realised that this place had not been open for quite a while and was pretty much a derelict field that was closed. He was telling me about there's always other airplanes there, and there was this little kind of shop to get sodas and ice creams and things like that. So, I went in there thinking, hey, this will be kind of a cool outing. And we landed on this gravel strip. There was this shack that was derelict. You could see it had some kind of stools and things like that in it, as if it had been open at some point. But honestly, it really looked like something that... My instructor was old, but not that old. Really looked like something that was a relic of the 50s and 60s. And, he certainly wasn't flying aircraft at that time at all. So I was very surprised by this, how it looked, and I also sensed that my instructor was just really, really sad about it. Really, really sad. Now, when we were there, someone did drive up, ask us what we were doing. It was very clear it was now a closed airport with a private land. And if you look up Maben, it actually says that, which is why it doesn't have a valid entry in airport facility directories anymore. And it's also why the database is confused in X-Plane. But, the gravel strip probably still likely exists after all these years. It certainly did at the time I went on it. probably full of weeds. But yeah, the airport is private land. But what a great place it was, set into the Catskills like that. Now let me just see if I can pick up my controller. Hang on. There we go. I'm actually using a Oculus Quest for this, which for the price is a great little headset. You know, just 399 bucks, and it really does take you into the world of VR. I'll be honest, there's some planes I don't like in VR. They have very flat cockpits, but you know, if you look at this, it's got all the bezels that pop out and things like that, so it ends up looking very real. Now, NY0, isn't it funny? That's actually not moved from NY0 Fulton County. I noticed this yesterday. I am Austin-based pilot. Let me just piss about with the range. Oh, I'm actually turning. But I noticed yesterday I'm a Texas-based pilot in real life, and I first started looking at this Pilatus in Austin, Texas, and then after a little while I set it to California, and for some reason I was in the middle of California, but the GPS was in the middle of Texas, so I don't know whether I'm having some problem there, whether it's related to range or what. But yeah, for sure yesterday it was in Texas while I was in California, and right now it actually looks like well, it looks like it has moved. But if you look, New York, is that New York 0? Looks very odd to me. Aircraft is flying 210 degrees. Well, not quite. But yeah, it shouldn't be off there. Maybe it is. Let me have a look at the other GPS that I can see. Unfortunately, you won't be able to see it. It actually popped off of screen anyway. Nevertheless, I do know roughly where this is, and I might actually be able to cheat a little bit as well and just use FlyQ. I'm actually just peeking out of my phone. Weird. Boot up FlyQ. It's probably not even broadcast into this phone. Well, this will be kind of a shit video if this doesn't pick this up. Just look at my IP address. .98 and make a few. Oh, look at that. Ooh. GPS, it's network, isn't it? Oh, look. Nine, 2.168. Shit. This is not the best way of typing. 168.1.98. Done. Hopefully I can use this to get us into the right place, given the GPS is so shite. I don't know what that problem is with this aircraft. I've got to do some more experimentation with the GPS on this. Maybe it's another type of flaw. It might be to do with what I have installed. So let's have a look. Maben. I am near... Actually, I want to turn... Well, about 90 degrees to the right, which makes sense because I've entered a turn. I actually have the GPS on the moving map now. And this will get us into Maben. So yeah, my instructor took me here, and I think was ultimately very upset that this thing from his, I guess, past life was just no longer as popular it was in previous years, unfortunately. But nevertheless, I still enjoyed the trip out. It was very memorable because it was one of the early cross-country trips that I've done. Let me just reset the view in a minute as well, because I'm actually sat looking forward, but in VR I'm sat looking to the left slightly for some reasons. Just one of the things when you go in and out of the view. I still want to turn. I'm tracking quite a long way off. I think, yes, that's about right. I don't want to be going west anymore. And yeah, I'll center the view. There. That's actually what I'm looking at. Beautiful aircraft with a real beautiful feel to it. It's absolutely lovely, really. Just love it to bits. It's actually nice and stable. You can see I've had my hands off from time to time, and it doesn't jump around that much. My hands are off the wheel now. Well, not now. Now turning. I'm just going to go down a little bit, because, you know, one of the nice things about New York actually is, well, it's the Catskills. You can see all those hills over there. It's the Catskills Mountains. Personally, I think the Catskills is a bit more hill-sized than mountain-sized, but, you know, it's very nice nonetheless. But yeah, this is a super aircraft to fly, to monkey around in, just like kind of your father's easy day out on a Sunday type of aircraft. And yeah, I do want to be a bit close to the ground. I mean, Maben's ahead. I believe it's in the higher hills over there. But yeah, I am totally getting what people say about this. Really nice aircraft to fly, and especially in VR. Look, the wheels are spinning down there. I should have already put the brakes on. If I'd have followed a checklist, I would have. One thing about this is it has a realistic engine control. I believe it has that because of the way throttles work on yokes and things like that. And actually, it's very easy to just overpower the engine with that setting on. I don't think it's a real life problem. I think it's more how a throttle is translated to a turboprop plane in X-Plane. So it's their way of saying, look, you can have the real setting if you want, but you've got to more carefully manage the throttle and manage the engine. I have seen something along those lines posted, but I was finding that as soon as I put that setting on, you know, the aircraft would just blow up 20 feet off the ground. And actually, the very first time I'd found it, I'd taken this plane, you know, around the nice scenery pack I have in Northern California, and I'd landed it in Golden Gate Park in the field down the end. I can't remember what that field is, but a running track or something, very short, and I just thought, well, I've done that, I'll see if I can take off. I actually didn't think I'd get in as a landing, but once the wheels of this aircraft are on the ground, it stops pretty quickly. Doesn't matter so much if you end up running down the runway. But anyway, I turned around and I changed this setting mid-flight, full throttled to take off, and it just conked out. There was smoke all over the place, and I was like, what the hell is going on? This horrible whining sound. So I do keep it on the not realistic setting now. Pity there's a few rendering errors ahead. Excuse me. I don't like that, but I can live with it. I have turned a few screen reflections off and things like this. You know, again, it's a fairly high performing model with lots of intricate detail. I've played around with it. I've got like the highest textures on and things like that. Even with the landscape, the video card's got plenty of space for that kind of thing. But I did want to free up frame rate. It was stuttering more than normal. So I've dialed a few things back, which is fine. The nice thing is about X-Plane is that, you know, the default scenery you can kind of ignore unless you're flying really close to the ground, which of course is something that I'd partially like to do. So the lake ahead is, I'm not sure what it's called, but it's the Shohari Reservoir, and that's the further one over there, I think. And Maben is not too far the other side of that. There's actually a road I can follow that goes up the side of the hill and round the bottom of the airfield there. And yeah, why did I choose this airplane and this location to demo? Well, it's a nice potential backcountry airplane, this. I really wanted to just take it and land it on a nice gravel strip. Incredible fun. Tell you what, let's go and look down at the reservoirs. I do love upstate New York for aviation. You know, if you look on an aviation map, upstate New York, there's airfields everywhere. Now, some of them are out of service, some of them are private, but I do envisage this day, you know, a golden age of New York aviation where just about every farmer had their own strip and a little Piper Cub or something. I'm sure it's not quite true, but it certainly seems with the amount of airports, little grass strips and things in New York that they're just all over the place. And you know, the scenery is kind of nice. I never enjoyed living in upstate New York, in Albany. Not my kind of thing. Never enjoyed the town, but as a place to learn to fly, well, frankly, it was exceptional flying out of Albany International Airport, the Class C there. Great Class C, and you know, then being able to fly to Fulton County, where there was like nothing there. I remember when I had soloed and my instructor was confident enough for me to do cross-country trips on my own, he signed me off to go to Fulton County because I'd been there so many times. So a nice summer evening, I would actually get the aircraft out and do a solo cross-country to Fulton County. I would land there, I would park the aircraft up, I would lay in the grass, kind of relaxing. It was just lovely summer evening kind of thing to do. I would have half an hour just lazing around, and then I would fly the aircraft back. Sometimes I'd talk to the guy at the aviation shop there. You know, they ran a little mechanics outfit. He'd be very interested in the Cessna 1-2 that I was in because he did the servicing on it. Asked me how it was flying and things like that. I do remember once he asked me if he could open up a panel and look in the wing because he wanted to check something. Not sure what was going on there. Did he have some concern about the last service he did or something like that? I think he was comparing the exact make and model of 172, the model number, should I say, to an aircraft he was currently working on that maybe threw him out a little bit in terms of what he expected to see under the wing. But yeah, so we're over this Shohari Reservoir now, and right at the end there should be a little road or two. You can actually see road over there. Now I haven't got that road on my map. I have more got a road that comes in from the western side of the lake over there. But if we end up following that road, we should ultimately go through the gap in the hills that has Maben Airport on the left. And it's funny, I remember the gap in the hills so specifically. I remember the location of the airport on the little hill so vividly. For many years, I wasn't sure which airport it was. You know, I had the, in fact, it was some airport written down in my logbook, but not the name and not the identifier. And the reason for this is because, yeah, even back then it was an airport that was closed, so I wasn't sure. But it took me years to figure out which one it was on an aviation map and then visit it. I think you use Google Earth, and I would typically use Google Earth to kind of look at all the airports in the Catskills region and look for this little gravel strip. And then and only then, once I'd identified it was this Maben, which does exist on VFR flight maps, but you know, as I say, is not in like airport facility directories and things like that. Then I visited it in Microsoft Flight Simulator to kind of confirm this memorable picture I had of these hills that surrounded it and the location of the field. And I knew instantly when the field came into view that yes, this was Maben and the airport that I'd been thinking of all this time. And I think it's just the other side of this hill here. We follow the river around a little bit. The river weaves. Actually, I think that's it where that building is. You see a building? I could be mistaken. Could be mistaken. But yeah, let's look for... You can see a kind of runoff and a gravel strip. You actually have to land into Maben the way that I'm going now, because it is slightly uphill. But yeah, that is it. Absolutely beautiful. And you actually have to take off in the opposite direction, which is fun because you come out over this valley. Right, let's prepare this aircraft. And now you're going to get a chance to see... Oh, look at that speed coming down. Almost not need any flap on this. Lovely, lovely backcountry strip. You see it sloping up now? Ooh, a little bit jittery on the frame rate for me. Sorry if I'm moving my head too fast as I'm looking side, but that's just one of those effects of one of those things you have to do when flying a plane. Now, could be a little bit straighter on the runway. And I cut the engine and I'm going to land uphill and try and let this stall. Oh, shit! What did I tell you? That was a crap landing, really, but did you see that when I bounced it, how short this stopped in? I mean, in part that's going to happen because I'm uphill, but also the fact that you've got... I just managed to get it, the tail wheel back, all that aerodynamic braking, and the nice thing is that leads to a lot of a short landing, and you know, you don't have to kind of dance on the rudder to control this tail wheel a lot. Now, I remember taxiing that Cessna 172 up this gravel strip, and I just thought I was killing the aircraft. The propeller was blowing all this gravel back, so it was like hitting the underside of the aircraft. It was just sounded awful. Truth is, it was just a few bits of gravel on the underside. I'm not sure I'd want to do it to an aircraft I owned, but I just remember it just thinking, oh, this sounds awful, I shouldn't be here. That building that I was talking about, what once was a old cafe, I do remember it kind of being over there, derelict. It was certainly just off the field. There was never a hangar here like that. That building there did not exist 18 years ago. And of course it could be auto-generated. So, you know. But I do remember that road over there is where the car came down that came from, I don't know where it came from, some more distant house. And the guy came to meet us and asked us what we were doing, and you know, my instructor told him this story about he used to fly in here, and there were all these like 20 planes parked up on the grass because it's where everyone would fly into. And yeah, he said, well, you're okay. I don't think he really wanted us there, but you know, just wasn't kind of, didn't want to be rude. Right, hopefully this terrain is good enough to turn around on. And let's just have a look, because I was wondering about that GPS. I am not over. It's funny how it was displaying November Yankee Zero in this location and November Yankee Zero Fulton County, but now it's just displaying November Yankee Zero for Fulton County. Right, let's turn around anyway. I will first, however, put a takeoff flaps in for a short field. Oh, this is bloody beautiful, this plane. Just feels so nice. And actually I can do a better landing than that in it. That was a real plop. But hey, at least I didn't ground loop. I'm more worried about ground loop in any kind of tail dragger than anything. I've even got a vivid memory of doing a short field takeoff when we restarted this engine. I'll tell you what, I'm going to loop round to the left, because I'm kind of not using the full runway. And why not have a nice ride in the country? Oh, look at that. That's what you get with a tail dragger. Turn on the spot if I really wanted to. Nice. It's funny, my rudders kick in quite violently to turn this aircraft at certain points. You know, a bit of brake, slight bit of braking action as well. I don't like braking a tail wheel though. But yeah, I have got enough authority here. Right, it's soft field takeoff, so I actually don't want to stop, otherwise it'll sink. But I am going to progressively add the throttle. Look at that, tail's already up. And you know, once the tail's up, it just lifts off. You hardly even have to use the rudder on this thing. Okay, flaps up. I'm actually using a CH Products yoke to fly this tonight. But yeah, I remember taking off in the Cessna, and it didn't take off this fast. And I'm like, well, I've clearly got to turn left. Otherwise I'm going to hit that hill ahead. It's just the climb rate wasn't as good. Now for sure it was good enough to get out of here. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but as soon as you come off that ski jump end of the runway, because that Cessna does not take off as quick as this thing, you know, but that ski jump down there, once you come off it, you are for sure, and I'm trying to look back at the ski jump actually. Once you come off of that, you're like, shit, there's a hill right in front of me. When you're taking off, you're worried about the end of it and dropping off the hill into the river below. And when you finally left the ground, you're like, crap, I got to climb. But yeah, this thing has a beautiful climb rate. I mean, look at the speed I'm up to already. Really, really nice. And yeah, it's so nice to just be doing some Catskill flying here. And certainly to visit this old haunt that I visited as a student pilot and have never been back to in real life. I've shown you a little bit of the PC-6, but not an awful lot. But I think, you know, by flying it you can see kind of what this aircraft is about, and you know, maybe get a little bit of a feel for how easy to fly it is just from this video. It looked like the GPS was working to me in the end, so maybe it's just some stupid problem of relocating a plane in X-plane. Might also be some stupid issue because I have some GPS plugins and things like that, but I don't really care about GPS navigation in a plane that's nice as this. Frankly, if I could follow a road down to Maben, I always would. But how about some valley flying? Let's just throttle back. Because, if you're in these hills, you want to be in the hills. You don't have to be landing at that nice backcountry airport. I hope you're enjoying watching this. I'm kind of not in the best talkative mood tonight. Stupid bunch of emails that I'm arguing with people back and forth on. Really pissing me off. It's funny how people piss you off all the time, isn't it? But another reason to go flying. I'm actually flying real life tomorrow. I'll be out in a Piper Warrior 2, a plane that I've only just started flying recently. I bought into a flying club that flies the Warrior 2, flies an Archer 2, and is soon to take ownership of a Dakota, which I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, just having a little bit of extra speed. Look at this puddle. Yeah, this is where it definitely pays to have the extra kind of scenery that you can put, scenery packs that you can buy sometimes. One thing about down low is that you do notice the frame rate a little bit more as well. You just see kind of things that are closer to you, such as trees juddering a little bit. That's cool though. Yeah. Just recenter myself again. Yeah, I thought I was off slightly. Not that much. Yeah, you can rearrange the instruments in this. I don't really need to, but I have to admit I do find the layout in this a little bit odd. And I don't know, just that a few instruments are not lined up with each other. It kind of looks as if someone's just slapped them into place. I don't know whether the real PC-6 is like that or not. And I guess if it isn't, then you could easily go to the wrong avionics shop and they just put them into place. I wonder how close Albany International is. 40k? 40 nautical miles, should I say. Could go and land there. Ooh, look. That's because I had the throttle so low. I was actually not trying to go so fast. That's certainly the case when you pull back on the throttle on this. It really does drop. See, there you go. We've got the RPM down there. You've got the prop governing that RPM right there. That's why you could hear it. Let's pull the prop. I like complex aircraft. Kind of fun. Just having that little extra control. Lets you fly very, very efficiently. Well, where am I? About 3 west. Yeah, I thought I would be flying north out of the Catskills now. Yeah, put it through a few of its paces. Full throttle. Get that nose raise up. Let's see if I can get it to spin off of a power on stall. Might as well. I used to shit myself training to fly an aircraft and doing power on stalls. It used to feel like you were shooting up like a rocket. There we go. Nice stall warning. I'm actually holding it as level as I can with the rudders. There, it brakes. That's fairly benign. Yeah, and the key thing there is not to turn it into a graveyard spiral. Let me try a power off now. Ooh, look at those nice clouds. I might end up spinning through those. Ah, now I can feel it. Yeah, I'm holding it back. It's not even really stalling. It might have a tendency to go into a greater spin. Let's ease off the nose, push it forward, level, and out. It's hardly the aerobatic aeroplane for spinning, but that's not a bad thing. Right, let's go. Over the hell, you see those reservoirs I flew over earlier there? I think it's the same reservoirs. Okay. See if we can do a loop. Ooh, speed's gone. I'm surprised that stall warning didn't come down there. Nice. Yeah, that loop's nice. I like that. You know, I do know you can do things like open this window. I actually did that yesterday. It was kind of get the noise of the window, noise of the propeller, which is actually kind of nice to fly with the window open and get that noise through. But of course it's noisy also for the purpose of this video at that point, so I kind of hold off. But yeah, incredible fun. Bunch of seats in the back. Nobody in them. Oh, and actually it's just, for some reason, turned me around. You saw briefly my VR, what they call it, the desktop I use. I don't know why it flicked to that. But hey, nothing wrong with seeing that. At least you get to see the behind. Let's try and get another view outside. That's one thing about VR. I can actually pretend to stick my head out the window. It's kind of fun. Yeah, what I was going to do then was just give you a little bit of a treat and a look at the aircraft in flight. Long distance view. Well, I think I will take a break, transfer this aircraft to Utah, and maybe fly through the canyons of Utah.